life habitat, comprehensive public transportation plan, more involvement with our public schools, gardens, biodiversity, and watersheds. Number 2, how should our local government climate planners address your concerns? More conversations with our rural communities. Try to keep politics out of addressing climate concerns with constituents. Celebrate our wins.
Yeah.
Be an example to other communities. And talk about the progress we have made mitigating climate effects, because Thurston County is really a leader in these types of things. And then number 3, where do you see gaps in climate work locally, and how can they be addressed? Jurisdictional collaboration to achieve true watershed planning. Recycling programs can be updated and easier for people to understand. I'm repeating some things that have already been said. And more conversations with our youth. That's basically what we can do.
So we had ours kind of sectioned by needs and the gaps, and then kind of had some stuff that came up in between as we went along. So with the needs, we kind of went crazy with it. We thought about a lot of things that would be awesome, like big ticket items. Everything would have like neighborhood unions where there's like, people doing community care check-ins and stuff with each other, having like communal compost and such where they're learning and training each other. That was another piece that kind of came out here too, was more workshops, training folks on how to do either solutions on their own scale, understand the context of the bigger solutions and such. We talked a little bit more about things like universal basic income, which would be like a green ticket item and such. So people have capacity to look at more climate action and bigger things kind of falling in Maslow's hierarchy. We talked about the idea of also doing a better job sharing resources and stuff, having more like lending libraries and things, being able to check out tools for your neighbor and whatnot. And then we talked a little bit about also like more infrastructure stuff, like having class recycling and education about the reality of recycling. So I think in the previous group out, we talked about how people have perceptions about plastic recycling, like it doesn't do anything. It's like, not with that attitude, it doesn't. And then I still haven't addressed it. So we also talked a little bit about the gaps. And so one of the big ones was like funding and political will and such, which is a very difficult thing to overcome. Later on, as we kind of talked about things that act as almost like an intermediate solution, we talked about the idea of like, exposure to more cool solutions, like knowing about things that are being done and having kind of that more positive mindset to see that. And how having the central resource of those guys or showing those things that are being done might help more citizens be able to kind of push towards the political will, or say, hey, I do want to fund this stuff because it is working. We're seeing examples. We also talked about, finding agency and doing the things ourselves, like figuring out where do we have the agency to say, cool, we're just going to go ahead and do it as a community or as a group of individuals and such, not having to wait to rely on other systems. Something else we also talked about too was making climate action fun. There was another thing about making it glamorous, which is a whole other thing that we didn't want to go into. But eventually led to a cool conversation about the idea of having a climate mascot, and like Smokey the Bear or other things, or tardigrade sea bears, and trying to get people's curiosity and empathy kind of spark and stuff from that. We also talked about light rail and having more density in the long term for all that, talking about bigger co-ops and more refillable supply stations and such, more community gardens, and that kind of created our stream of solutions in the middle of things that we did would be kind of doable on our small scales. Did I miss anything?
Don't forget to give the context about the one-term limits.
Oh, yeah. The idea of like, with some political parties and stuff, maybe not, just kind of sitting and kind of getting stagnant and stuff, maybe giving them some motivation to get some fresh folks coming through.
We heard from somebody in our group who is in one of those planning positions who says, we have the will, we have the money, we have the resources. What we don't have is politicians that are willing to stand up and say, I'll be the first to support this because I'm not sure if anybody else is going to support it or not. And so if the idea is that you're afraid you're not going to get reelected, then maybe we take that off the table.
Yeah.
Home energy store model ordinance.